This video will demonstrate the general use of using Bing Maps within MicroStation in our MoDOT workflow. There's a couple different options that I'm going to show you, and then also some of the printing options that you'll be able to do using the Bing Map inside of MicroStation. Using Bing Maps, as you see here, there are some advantages and also some disadvantages of using it. Some of the advantages are it does have a faster refresh rate versus the web map server imagery that you currently can use. It does have a better pixel resolution than most of the web map server imagery, not all, but most. It also is a little bit more dependable on displaying the imagery. Some of the disadvantages is there are some limitations on printing, which I'll demonstrate later on. You can't create, clip, or crop imagery from Bing Maps. That is a bit.ly agreement with Bing Maps whenever they grab that connection from Bing Maps. And also there's a maximum of 125,000 transactions per year. So if we exceed that, we won't be able to use the Bing Maps for the remaining of the year. I don't think we'll hit that, but that's just another little caveat with that. So option number one, this is just using Bing Maps inside of MicroStation. You're not worrying about clipping it out. You just want to see the aerial imagery behind it. Simply go up to the raster manager, go to the file pull down, and do attach Bing Maps. And whenever you do that, you'll see that you'll have some options through here. In your layers, you have three different options. You got road, aerial, and aerial with labels. Change that to whichever one you want. If you have it set to the wrong one, you can always go back and change it. Not a big deal. I'm going to change it to aerial. That way it just shows me the aerial. And then I'll go ahead and hit attach. And then it will attach that imagery to the file. And it should land exactly with your MicroStation data. And the reason why it attaches it properly is whenever you go to your geographic coordinate system tools, you have to make sure you got the correct coordinate system attached to your file. So if you don't have a coordinate system attached and you attach the Bing Maps, it's not going to look correct. So very first thing you want to do along with the web map server imagery, Bing Maps, if you're bringing in a shape file, is make sure that you have the correct coordinate system attached. So this one did. We brought it in and landed over exactly where the geometry is at. And as you see, as I zoom in and zoom out, it refreshes really quick. One thing about it is if you zoom in too close, you're going to see these cameras with a circle with a slash going through it. It can't go any farther than that, so you'll see that. But simply to do that is just to zoom back out a little bit, and you'll see the imagery that's behind it. So that's one thing about using Bing Maps. Like I said, it's a lot clearer than the web map server imagery on most instances throughout the state, probably minus the St. Louis area where they got a little bit better resolution on the web map server imagery, but Bing Maps works really good for the remaining portions of the state. Now, option number two. Let's say you're wanting to go in here and you're wanting to maybe crop out a certain area that you want to show versus the whole entire section of the world. Because if you do a fit view, it actually takes a slice of the world right through there. So that's what it's going to show you if you do a fit view. But let's say I just want to show just the area around my job limits and I don't really want to see the rest of the stuff. Well, like I said, a bit.ly agreement that they had is you can't create, crop, or clip out imagery from the raster manager. One way to get around that though is I'm going to come in here and I'll go back to my raster manager and I'm going to detach this, and I'm going to show you kind of the second option of attaching a Bing Map imagery but also clipping out that area that you want. And the way to kind of get around that is to attach a reference file and then clip out that reference file. And we have three files already set up out there that you can utilize for this purpose. So I'm going to go up to my reference dialog box, and this time I'm going to do Tools Attach, and where I'm going to look at for these files is actually underneath CAD Standards, Seed Files, Design English, and if you scroll down through there is going to be three files that you can attach. One that says Bing Map Central Zone, East Zone, and West Zone. So depending on where your project lies at, will determine which one that you would select. I know this one here is in the central zone, so I'm going to go ahead and select it. I'll hit add, hit OK to attach it. Now, before I attach it though, I'm going to come up here and change my option to set it to geographic reprojected. And the reason why I set it to that is this job's on a modified factor, which the coordinate system that you'll see here in a second whenever I go back to it, it's in a modified projection factor. The file that you're attaching is just in a state plane zone. So to get to land properly, we have to change this to geographic reprojected. That way it goes from the standard system to the modified system, or vice versa, depending on how you're wanting to attach it. So we'll set it to that. The other option that we're going to turn on is this display raster references. That way we can see the raster images that are inside there. So once we have those two changed, geographic reprojected, display raster references, go ahead and click on OK. And now you should see that imagery that's behind there, because you've attached that reference file. So if I go back up to my reference dialog box, if I come in here and I turn off the display, of course it's going to turn off. It's attached as a reference file. Also, if you go back into your raster manager, you'll see here there's going to be one in gray. Let me go ahead and detach this other one. This one right here, you'll see that it's in gray. I can't detach it because it's actually pulling it from the other file. And if you look over to the side here, it'll actually show you what file that it's in. Bing map centralzone.dgn. So that's where that particular imagery is located at. I can still come in here and I can turn it off if I need to, or turn it back on. But just keep aware that this imagery is actually attached to this file. Now we're going to go ahead and clip it out. To do that, we're going to go back into our reference dialog box. We're going to select our Bing Map Central Zone file. And we already have a defined area that we're going to use, which is this shape. So I'm going to use this as an element. Could come in here and put a fence around the area or do some other methods, but since I have a defined shape, I'm going to utilize it. Once I have this one selected, I'll just go to the Tools pull down, and I'm going to select the one that says Clip Boundary. Inside of here, you got a couple different options. You got active fence, element, or named fence. If you did come out there and place a fence, you could actually use that active fence. I'm going to use the element. And I'm going to check on the box right here that says Use References dialog box. Because that's, since I have this one here selected, I'm going to use this one right here and clip out that area of that imagery or whatever is contained inside that file. So I'll go ahead and select that shape right here. And now you'll see that the imagery is clipped out. So that's kind of one way to get around of, clipping out your imagery. Is you can attach a certain file that we already have predefined, clip it out, and then now you can do with it whatever you need to do. So that's option number 2 on attaching a Bing Map imagery and clipping it out and doing some other stuff with it. The last portion of this video is printing out Bing Map imagery. Printing out the Bing Map imagery with the Microstation geometry can be a little bit of a pain, because just the way it prints out the imagery depending on what your what border that you have attached and so forth. So I'll kind of show you what works. Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be kind of grainy, but you can utilize it depending on what situation that you got. To get to print out, we have to use the Descartes plotting. If we use the regular Microstation plotting, it will not print out. It can't. It will not do it. And it all depends on the printer setup and the DPI that we have set up by default on our printers. So we have to go through the Descartes plotting in order to be able to print it out. So we have to load Descartes first. And to do that, we're going to go to the Tools pull down, Product Add-ins, Activate Descartes. You will get this alert box. Just simply hit yes to that. Now we'll go to the MoDOT pull down. We'll go to the option that says Descartes plotting. First of all, you define where you want to print it to. Set those parameters accordingly. I'll go ahead and set it to the Lexmark, CAD support, B size, and I'll just do black and white for right now. If it was color plotter, I can send it as a color plot. Hit OK. Inside this right here, I'm going to do a cancel. If I get that box, I'll cancel out the other box also, if you do get those. And inside of here, there's a couple options that you'll need to check. First of all is rasterized. We're going to check mark that box in order for it to print out properly. Another thing that we're going to do is underneath our settings, print attributes. Inside of here, you need to define how you want it to print out. So if you want your line weights to show up, by default it does not. If you want the line weight to show up, you want to make sure you check mark that box. Constructions, probably don't want those to print out, so uncheck that. And you can look at some of the other stuff that's inside here if you want those to print out or not. Those are just some of the print attributes that you'll need to define depending on how you want to print it out. Or if you had a transparency, you would check mark that box also. Once you have those defined, go ahead and click on OK. The other setting that we're going to change, we'll go to Settings, Raster Options, and basically inside of this box what we need to change is our quality factor. In your quality factor, you want to make sure that this DPI right here does not exceed the scale of this right here. Make sure this one right here does not exceed this scale right here. Right now it's going to do the whole entire thing, so I think we're okay with this. We're fine with this right here. That would print out just fine. But the only problem is if you get like a say a 20 scale border, this scale here may be only set to 40 or 60 or 80 or 100, and whenever you come up to your settings, raster options, this raster option right here may exceed this scale, and if that's the case, it will not print out. And that's just because of the way how Bing Maps has stuff set up on how for it to print out. It can't exceed that scale. So, like I said, adjust this number right here, or just your quality factor option, to be smaller than this number right here, and you'll be okay. Once you have that set up the way you want it, the last thing that you would need to do is simply come up here and hit print. You'll get the box that says No Wizard or Advanced Wizard. Just go ahead and click on No Wizard and hit OK. We'll cancel out this box right here where we're going to save the plot drop file to. Plot drop file should go to underneath the T drive that says T plot drop. Once you're ready to do that, you click on Save, and then it would send it to the printer and it would print it out.